Hello, everyone. We are going to begin our practitioners panel. This is, I think, going to be a really useful discussion. We're looking at responses to contemporary security challenges. In other words, this is the bread and butter of what you're dealing with today. How does one respond to the challenges you're facing today? And to look at that, we have, I think, a really good panel up here. First, we have Colonel Anne Bella Nkoto. She's from Cameroon with the gendarmerie. Okay. We have Colonel Aliou Jibril Shehu Gulani from Nigeria. You're out of the Nigerian Defense Academy in Kaduna. Been there. Very nice place. And then finally, we have Brigadier General Joyce Puta, who is currently doing studies in peace and conflict at the Dag Hammarskjöld Peace Institute and University of Zambia, Copperbelt. We're all going to look at the questions of contemporary security challenges, and we're going to look at it through a lens of 4 questions. Now, whether we can address all of these questions in this panel, it's going to be impossible because they're big questions, and I'm only going to give them 5 minutes to talk. But I hope that out of the questions that you present, that we have a really good conversation. Okay? I really want to challenge things, and maybe we can all learn from this experience. These are the 4 questions. I'm going to have them all talk about, or if you, in your own minds from the audience, think about examples of a national response to a security challenge in Africa. A national response to a security challenge. And it doesn't have to mean that it worked. Sometimes we learn more from our mistakes than we learn from our successes. And so, what worked, what didn't work, and why. And then we expand that out. Let's look at examples of a regional response to a security challenge in Africa, and what worked, what didn't work, and why. And then, is it realistic to expect African solutions to African problems? And Jonas, if he's around here, we're bouncing back that question up again. You talked about it. You said there can be no African solutions, solely Africans solving their own problems. It has to be international. Well, we're going to test that hypothesis today. And then finally, how should African countries or African institutions lay the foundation for effective, timely, and sustainable responses? That's a big question. And I don't know if we can find a real easy answer to that. But I think we need to start examining those questions. We've touched on that question has been the basic theme that we've been looking at throughout this conference. But we'll touch on it again. Okay? So to get us started, I'm going to give the microphone to Anne. She has 5 minutes to answer all 4 questions. Anne?
Mesdames, Messieurs, en vos titres, grades et rangs respectifs, permettez-moi, avant d'entrer dans le vif du sujet, de remercier les responsables du César de l'opportunité qu'ils m'offrent pour que je puisse donner mon point de vue sur un problème contemporain. Ceci étant, il y a 30 ans, la sécurité était exclusivement de la responsabilité de l'État, en l'occurrence de ses forces armées. Mais les crises survenues de part et d'autre, et surtout en Afrique, ont démontré à suffisance que la sécurité ne se réduit pas à la seule protection des frontières et des territoires contre le risque d'invasion étrangère, mais concerne tout ce qui peut déstabiliser l'État. Actuellement, il existe des batailles que tout le monde doit gagner, mais elles ne se situent plus exclusivement sur les champs traditionnels. Les nouveaux champs de bataille en Afrique, c'est la société qui voit sa diversité biologique disparaître à un rythme effréné, ses enfants mourir de diarrhée, de famine, de sida, l'érosion ou la déforestation, ruiner la productivité des terres. Ce sont là les nouvelles sources d'insécurité qui mine plus nos sociétés. Et la force militaire, réponse traditionnelle aux défis d'origine sociale, est pratiquement inopérante dans des situations de cette nature. Le principe de construction d'un monde défendable par tous nous interpelle, ce qui vise à favoriser des interactions et des échanges entre individus pour créer des réflexes de solidarité et un sentiment de responsabilité à l'égard de l'intégrité et de la tranquillité de tous. La prise de conscience effective du rôle que doit jouer chaque individu de par son comportement au quotidien pour l'amélioration ou la préservation de la société constitue désormais le défi majeur que nous devons relever. Et pour étayer ce discours sur les réponses aux défis sécuritaires, je prendrai l'exemple sur le Cameroun, qui, depuis la déclaration de guerre à Boko Haram par le président Paul Biya en mai 2014, a fait recours à la défense populaire, ce qui a favorisé une synergie entre les forces de défense et de sécurité et les populations civiles face à l'ennemi commun que représente la secte Boko Haram. Et c'est grâce à cette forte mobilisation des populations à tous les niveaux pour apporter leur contribution effective à l'effort de guerre que le Cameroun a pu repousser les assauts de l'ennemi. Cet exemple choisi à dessein montre à suffisance que l'engagement militaire à lui tout seul n'aurait pas pu circonscrire l'agression aux limites frontalières. Cependant, pour la recherche d'une paix durable, la défense populaire doit avoir pour sous-bassement une perpétuelle lutte contre la pauvreté matérielle et immatérielle. Aussi convient-il de revisiter les sentiers de la gouvernance et donc de s'attaquer aux causes structurelles ayant favorisé l'émergence et le développement de Boko Haram. En outre, la dimension transnationale de la menace exige une mutualisation des efforts, une globalisation de la réponse contre le groupe islamiste.
Thank you, Anne. Well put. Very well said. Aliou?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Talking about responses to contemporary security challenges in Africa, I would say that African conflict are divided in their causes and consequences, and they are increasingly interrelated, and they are now also ultra-state, and they have regional futures. However, there is leading promises that countries are taking it upon themselves to define measures to tackle these security challenges, both non-kinetic measures and strong kinetic measures. In tackling the 7 human security, talking about disaster management, in health, in human trafficking, lots of countries in Africa have developed organizations that are looking into those human security. But talking about the kinetic operations, militarily, I want to focus on the Lake Chad Basin Commission member states, where we have Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, and Benin Republic coming together to respond to the problem of insurgency. These countries have been able to raise forces, both national and at the regional level. In Nigeria, we have Operation Lafia Dole. In Cameroon, we have Emergency and Alpha. In Niger, Inga, and Chad as well. All these are efforts to respond to regional challenges. There are lots of other development corridors. Transfrontier Peace Park also constitute. There are also ways that government have come in to address the current security challenges. Are they working or they are not working? They are actually working in some ways, and in some ways, there are still challenges. We have seen where countries are willing to come together, the Lake Chad Basin countries, they are willing to come together to address the issue of insurgency, which is really eating the region. The Lake Chad Basin is becoming a ground zero. But they kept aside their national interests, and we saw them coming together, and it's a great thing that these countries are coming together. So it is working. However, there are still some challenges. The forces are poorly equipped, and there is too much dependence on foreign support, because even after coming together to run such operations, which is known as the Multinational Joint Task Force, they are depending on foreign partners to finance such operations. So there are challenges. However, these countries have in many ways brought in so many ways to address this issue of the challenges, which include making sure that the troops are well trained. They are bringing together the troops to have the same mentality, because they are sharing different kind of ways of fighting battles, but now they are having the same mentality, bringing them together to talk together and see how to go about the mission. The head of states are meeting just recently. Even the ministers of defense met in Jamaica, and on the 13th and 14th, the head of states are also going to meet. So there is that collaboration. And if such head of states can come together and address such a problem, a huge problem happening in Lake Chad Basin, the insurgency, I believe it will work. Unlike in those days. Just recently, the president of Cameroon was in Nigeria, and he said it, that for the past 16 years he has not been to Nigeria. But now he believes that there is a direction. So it's a good thing that is happening along the Lake Chad Basin. So the response, it's emerging. It's something that we should be proud of as Africans, that we can now come together to actually respond to this major problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aliyu. Joyce?
Thank you, Moderator. Once again, it is a pleasure to stand before you and discuss the current emerging security challenges, and to be specific, the human security challenges. And I'm going to zero in on one of them. As you are aware, there are 7 human security challenges that have been identified. We are dealing with environmental security, economic security, food security, personal security, community security, political security, but I will zero in on health security. During the 90s, Africa, which comprises 1/3 of the world's population, showed 2/3 of the world's HIV/AIDS cases. It was devastating. And the main challenge at that particular time was we didn't know what to do. Once you are diagnosed with HIV positive results, you are doomed to die. We could not afford medication. In Africa, it was only the rich and the elite who could access the antiretroviral therapy. We were stigmatized. That was another challenge. And then we were also in denial. The other thing was, it was such an uphill battle, especially in the military, to bring the programs in the military so that we fight the HIV from the military point of view, knowing very well that our jobs made us very vulnerable in the sense that we were young, we felt invincible, we could do anything, we could try anything, and we were also very mobile. We were deployed in the north, in the east, in peacekeeping operations. We were vectors of the virus. We took it to the missions, we got it from the missions. So we were really spreading it. Our governments could not afford at that particular time even to just carry out sensitization programs, voluntary counseling and testing. That was a challenge. What worked really was the fact that we collaborated, meal to meal, and we also collaborated region to region, and we collaborated internationally. That is what worked. I remember when I was the Eastern and Southern Africa regional coordinator for the military HIV/AIDS prevention program, we had Dr. Suleiman Mboop, West Africa, Francophone, and we had Dr. Frank from Ghana, who was West African Anglophone coordinator. That's when we started things moving. We could not afford it. We had to rely on our external partners. We relied on the West to help us carry out these programs. In our country specifically, the regimental flag was always at half-mast, always. The moment you see it coming down, if it's in the morning, by evening, it's up. The band was constantly at the graveside, burying soldiers one after the other. That was a big challenge. And we've never seen soldiers decimated in such huge numbers without a single bullet being fired. That was a huge challenge. It was a huge security challenge that we had. But we had to address it head on with the help of the external players. To be specific, the PEPFAR fund played a very big role. PEPFAR is the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief from the USA. Right now, almost everyone who knows their HIV status and they are eligible for antiretroviral therapy, they are receiving it and they are living comfortably. Gone are the days when people were dying of AIDS. People now are living very comfortably with HIV a lot longer. This has brought about the issue of reduced orphans and also reduced orphans who are HIV positive, because an HIV positive mother can now give birth to an HIV negative baby because of the intervention. Now it brings us to the issue of is it realistic for us to lean on the African solutions to African problems slogan? Yes and no. We've now been globalized. We cannot just depend on ourselves. Oftentimes, we have failed as Africans when we are not depending on other people. We have failed when we think because this is an African problem, we should solve it. As Africans, we have failed many a times. You can look at the issue of RECs, the RECs and the standby brigades in the RECs. Oftentimes, we find ourselves like lame ducks. How quick are we to deploy? How quick are we to deploy even with a UN peacekeeping mission which is just next door? We need external support. It will require very, very strategic leadership that will be totally committed to ensure that African problems are solved with African solutions. I think I should end here. My 5 minutes is over. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce.